Hello, we are now going to tackle the rocker arm design. Here's a picture of it. Uh, let's examine it for a second and see what we got going on. We have the some kind of polygon in here. We have a strange space-age shape, square, and a circle. And one of the most important things is all these dimensions appear to be running off the center. Okay, so because it looks like we're doing everything runs off the center and the measurements are taken in relation to what's happening. So we can conclude one thing: we recognize this sort of four quadrants as being a Cartesian grid. And so just because of the reading, we know that up here are positive numbers and down on this quadrant are negative numbers. These are the same things that you encounter in trigonometry or algebra. So now that we have a good picture of what we're doing, let's open up our AutoCAD. Now when we open up AutoCAD in the lab, it's going to take a second to install. And one thing about this assignment is that you need to be able to access this brand new, let's start a new drawing. And when you first open up AutoCAD in the lab, this is usually what you get. And it's because we've set the startup guide to number 3, and you need to get back to number 1. So how are we going to do that? Well, first we're going to open up a file. And not all of us are probably set up. I'm just going to do a new one. Let's do a new one. And we'll just do this because I'm just going to use it for a second to show you something. Okay, so here's when we open up a brand new file. And we didn't get the startup wizard. We didn't get the open a drawing from scratch message or anything that looks like the book on page 2-9. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and type in startup. So if I just put the first initials, I can see it right there, but let's select it, startup. This simple command can mess you up because it won't allow you to start. So you need to go in there and change type startup, and then if you see a 3 in there or a 2, you're going to change it to 1. So you're going to enter a 1, and then push enter, and then you're going to press toolbar. That just brings up the same last command used. So it's a quick way to do it. So I can see that the new value for startup is 1. Okay, here's the catch. In order to get number 1 to start up, I have to completely leave AutoCAD. I have to turn it off and turn it back on, which is kind of a hassle. So let's do that. I completely killed my AutoCAD, and now I'm going to reopen it again. Now it's reopening under the condition of startup number 1, and now I have the screen that I need to use to start this assignment. So we're going to open a drawing. We're going to start from scratch, use a template, and use the setup wizard. We can look at some of the icons if we hover over them. Here's the wizard. Here's a template. Start from scratch. And file. And more importantly, it gives us a quick way to set our settings. On future drawings, you might use imperial, but this is going to be our first decimal metric drawing. So we're going to choose it. Chosen. Press OK. Now it starts to take those settings, and it's created for us a brand new drawing. Okay, some quick environmental adjustments. Hopefully you can't hear all the cars going by outside or my cantankerous machine. Ever since the changes here, I have loaded up by accident Microsoft Skype. And once Skype is engaged, it makes a racket. So hopefully it won't do that. So let's keep going before it does. Next thing, we want to take a look at our nice new screen. We have the new startup number 1, and we're going to look down here at our tools, make sure that we have the necessary things going on. Let's turn on our grid. You should see a dot matrix screen. If not, we can adjust that. Then you're going to also need this dynamic input, which is the story of the day, because dynamic input will allow the tooltip to say things to you. Like here, if I push line, dynamic tooltip just means that I'm getting all these messages from the computer so I can read right there on my cursor. At one point, I changed the type to yellow, right? And I'm kind of sorry I did that, because now it thinks I want yellow type in that little box all the time. So I'll change that while we're there. If you don't have this button, look over here at the 3 hamburger. It's not near lunch, so I'm not getting hungry when I say that. But we'll go to the hamburger settings, these 3 stacked lines, and we're going to look for dynamic UCS. Okay. There, we've selected it. It should show up. Let me verify this by turning it off. Oh, I'm sorry. There's dynamic UCS, but then let's turn that off. Oops. Who would have thought there's 2 things named dynamic? Okay, so dynamic input at the top, but I want it, so I'm gonna select it, click again, and it goes away. We're going to get into our drawing units. Drawing units let us know how big things are going to be. What are the units, imperial units? So let's go to Format. Let's go to Units. And now we get the famous drawing units palette. We're going to make some adjustments according to the book, page 210. We're going to set the precision to 0. This is where, if you have a dimension and you have a whole bunch of zeros after it, this is where you can clip that short so you don't have to see everything. We're going to go to, we're going to accept it. I guess that's all we do here. For units, let's do that one more time. Stop. Sticky buttons. Okay. Format. Units. What can we see here? We can see that we have choices: architectural, decimal, engineering, fractional, scientific. You could even work on your astronomy projects. You can do scientific, parsecs. But for us, we normally reside in the architectural. This particular project, our first decimal. So let's stick with that. Millimeters are used. Okay. Second screen you want to open up is in the snap settings. So if we go down here to dynamic input, right click, dynamic input settings, open it up, and we can see that we have this palette. We have snap and grid, polar tracking, object snap. Gives us all the snaps. There's other ways to get this map to come up. Dynamic input snaps, snap and grid. Okay. First, I'll show you what the book wants. The book wants you to change snap and grid. This should be 10, and it is. This should be 10, and it is. And then it says grid snap is on, rectangular snap is on. Here's if you wanted to change it to a grid instead of the dots, but we're not going to mess with that today. This is where you do it. 10, 10, 5. And then all these are checked the same. So adaptive grid is on. Please consult the picture on 2-10. And I'll choose OK. Here's a picture of the snap settings that are needed. This is from page 2-10. So you can see the spacing is indicated. You can see the tabs. We can see different grid spacings. We see that the train is coming. Hopefully it's not headed this way. Hopefully that light at the end of the tunnel is the sun. Okay, so let's focus on this, and then we'll return back to AutoCAD. Okay, here we go. So we haven't done anything, all we're spending our time just setting up this drawing to go. What else do we have to do? Okay, they like us to set up the units, limits, and so we're going to go do that. We're going to type limits. Limits is your paper. It's your drawing area. Limits. There it is. I'm going to select limits. And you don't get much of a screen. Let's open up our dynamic input. I think this is the first time the train has run since the hurricane. So, okay, so I didn't do this right. Let's do this again. Limits. The first number you enter is 0, 0. Enter. Okay, the next number. I'm going for the first time ever. I'm going to be doing a negative number. So let's get the full keyboard. Negative 200, comma, which is important to have that comma. One, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago we talked about that. That comma helps you get your coordinates. And the display command, and then it says what's the upper, it says by the lower left hand corner. Negative 200, and try again, something went wrong. 200, comma, negative 550. Okay, upper right corner is 200, comma, 1, C. Okay, so those are positive numbers. Okay, and then it says we can say on your own, confirm, go view, display, and then UCS icon, and we're going to make sure it's on, and it's on origin. Okay. Okay, now we can do zoom extents, view, zoom, extents. This means this is how it'll go out pretty far, and we can take a look at it and see if we have enough area. Okay, so we can see that down here is our UCS icon, but it should be in the middle. So something went wrong. Let's make sure we have our view, display, UCS icon. Okay, so origin was off. So the last time I clicked it to accept the command, it turned it off. This is what I want. We're 13 minutes in, and we're still setting up our drawing board. Okay, well, I suppose in real life it takes a while to set up your drawing board too. So now that this thing is nice in the center, what it's telling us is it's creating, let's do imaginary line. Right, it's giving us that crosshair. Let's make sure it's just a demonstration. Okay. Okay, a lot of things not working so well this morning. All this has done is provide this to be on the bullet point where this is positive, and we have Descartes' simple Cartesian grid. And let me just flash an image of the Cartesian coordinate system as described by Descartes. It's once we have that cross, we have things positive numbers, positive and negative numbers, all negative, negative, and then positive numbers. And this gives us, off this reference point, we're in a space station. We're just going to draft off of our little space station, and everything that goes around it is going to be related to the center point. It's not going to be related like most time in drafting. You're going to be related down to the right-hand corner of the world. But this time we're in a space station drafting. So finally, we've made our setup, and I think we're going to get to draft in our next video. Congratulations.